What's good? It's Woog. Anthony Joshua just knocked out Francis Ngannou in the second round. A total of 3 knockdowns, and this was one of the most vicious knockouts you will ever see. And boy, was there a lot of pressure on Anthony Joshua today. Like, early in the fight, I thought Francis Ngannou was looking pretty good. For the record, I picked Anthony Joshua to win, but via decision. I think a lot of people picked Joshua to win via decision. But you had a lot of people kind of going back and forth and saying, no, I think Francis Ngannou is going to win the fight, or I think Ngannou might stop Anthony Joshua. Like, there was a lot of intrigue because of how well Francis Ngannou performed against Tyson Fury. And early in this fight, Ngannou was looking quick. He was, kind of level changing and feinting along with Anthony Joshua. They were kind of battling with lead hands. You saw Anthony Joshua try to kind of paw and pick his spots with certain jabs, jabbing to the body. One tendency that we would often see from Francis Ngannou is that his lead hand would kind of drop, almost like he's trying to swipe at or catch the punch, and his hand goes low. They were mentioning that, I think it was Timothy Bradley, in the Fury versus Ngannou fight. But you saw both of them kind of battling with the lead hand, trying to get some jabs in. Ngannou was looking poised and patient, was kind of slowly stalking Anthony Joshua, and it looked like he was kind of catching Joshua with some of those very quick lead left hands. And then Ngannou switched to southpaw later on in the first round. And again, it looked like when they started the fight off, orthodox versus orthodox, he was kind of trapping Joshua in certain scenarios, and it was looking like, Ngannou's letting his hands go, Joshua's not letting his hands go. I don't know how this is going to play out. Again, Joshua was looking a lot more reluctant to throw power punches, whereas Francis Ngannou looked like he was more emboldened to let a big punch go, at least with that lead left hook. Not so much with a lot of hard straight rights, but with that lead left hook. Then Francis Ngannou switches to southpaw. Shortly after that, Anthony Joshua puts Ngannou on the canvas in an exchange, and you could tell because Ngannou took the full 8 count before getting up. It's like, yeah, that wasn't a flash knockdown. Ngannou felt that, and he didn't look super dazed, but he looked affected. And it's not often that we see Ngannou look buzzed. I mean, I'm talking even in his UFC career. When is the last time you can remember Ngannou getting hit and getting wobbled by a hit? We saw him like dog tired in that first fight against Stipe, but not like a punch lands and then Ngannou gets jelly leg. We haven't seen a lot of that from Ngannou, but yeah, AJ put Ngannou on his butt late in the first round, and I kind of thought, and I was watching this fight with my dad and mom, and my dad was saying, hey, he should jump on him now. Don't let Ngannou get his confidence back and get out of the round. But Anthony Joshua was still pretty patient, was still kind of picking his spots, almost as if the knockdown didn't happen. End of the round, they come back out for the second round. Shortly into the second round, Anthony Joshua catches Ngannou coming in, throws a short right hand that catches Ngannou coming in with the left hook, drops Ngannou for the second time. And you could tell with that second knockdown, Ngannou was badly hurt on that one, to the point where Ngannou was kind of like looking down. He's like kind of pawing at his face. He looks at the ref and he's saying, yeah, I'm okay. But you could look at how he got up, how stiff his legs looked. And when the fight continued, Anthony Joshua just belted him, like came after him. Like, you usually don't see Anthony Joshua just sell out with punches, but he just came after him, and he threw what he must have known was a show closer right hand, and it was a straight right hand kind of through the guard, because Ngannou, he kind of had his back hand up, but his lead hand, again, it was still kind of down. Like, every time AJ would react, you would see Ngannou kind of go like this with his lead hand. But when AJ shot that final vicious right hand, he just caught all of Francis, and that was a pretty scary moment. The way that Francis just collapsed backwards, folded under his leg, it was just kind of jarring to see somebody who looked like they had a fantastic chin. What was one of the things that everybody was saying going into this fight? Ngannou's got a great chin, and Ngannou's got a great chin. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have a great chin, but Anthony Joshua is a hell of a power puncher, and this is the heavyweight division. And to see Ngannou get his lights put out like that, that was pretty shocking. And look, this is what we thought, at least a lot of boxing fans thought, that Tyson Fury versus Ngannou would result in. Like, you've got the boxer who knows what he's doing in there, and he should be able to land the meaningful punches to eventually get the MMA fighter out of there. But we didn't get that with Fury versus Ngannou. We got a dead even fight that featured Ngannou knocking Fury down. In this one, Joshua versus Ngannou, this one kind of fit that paradigm on what a boxer versus MMA fighter in a boxing ring is supposed to look like. But you know, Anthony Joshua did make some good points. If it was him on the canvas and not Ngannou, people would be talking about, hey, maybe it's time for AJ to retire and Ngannou would be the king of the world. You know what I'm saying? If he was the one landing those devastating punches. And look, he was coming close or landing with some hard shots in that first round before he got dropped the first time. Ngannou, again, was looking pretty good before that first knockdown. But AJ was very calculated, was very patient, was very deliberate in what he was doing. And I was just wondering, I was wondering if he was spooked early in the fight, given the way Ngannou looked like he looked like a predator. You know what I'm saying? He looked like he was coming forward and he was on a mission to get Anthony Joshua out of there. And he's not a head over skis type of pursuer. Ngannou isn't. Yes, he was in a couple of his MMA fights, like against Jarginshino Rosenstruck. If you've seen that knockout, that looked very non-technical. Ngannou came in guns blazing for that knockout. But in his pro boxing career, Ngannou's been very patient, has looked pretty professional. Again, I don't like the way that he drops that lead hand, but yo, Anthony Joshua dropped him early, he dropped him often, and again, he closed the show in a brutal way. And if you saw the way that Eddie Hearn jumped up out of his seat when that knockout ensued, you know that he saw dollar signs in his eyes. So we'll see what's next for AJ, you know, whether he fights the winner of Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. On the undercard, Joseph Parker pulled off the decision upset win over Zhilei Zhang. Look, I thought Zhang was going to win via decision, and it looked like that might be the case. It looked like Zhilei Zhang knocked him down a couple of times, but Joseph Parker was the better round winner, especially after the first 3 to 4 rounds, because I saw the unofficial scorecard gave Zhilei Zhang like the first 3 rounds, and Zhilei Zhang scored a knockdown. But after that point, aside from the second knockdown for Zhilei Zhang on Joseph Parker was a very good round winner, and Zhilei Zhang just wasn't throwing enough punches. I was wondering why he wasn't throwing more like 2-3s, where he starts with the straight left hand and follows it up with the right hook. I thought we were going to get a little bit more of that, like 1-2s or 2-3s from Zhilei Zhang, but he just wasn't putting the volume out there. And Joseph Parker fought a very good fight. I mean, think about it. If you would have told me after Joseph Parker got knocked out by Joe Joyce that he would have back-to-back wins over Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang, granted, this is before Zhilei Zhang knocked Joe Joyce out twice, I would not have believed you. I thought that Joseph Parker was nearly done after seeing that vicious fight against Joe Joyce. But yeah, back to Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. It was interesting. You heard a lot of the live mic moments or the hot mic moments where Anthony Joshua was telling or kind of encouraging Francis Ngannou not to leave boxing. He's like, stick around, stay dedicated, don't leave boxing. And we'll see what comes of that. But the way that Ngannou got knocked out, and he's 37 or something years old, thereabout, it's going to be interesting to see if Ngannou takes a boxing fight next, especially given the paydays that he's been getting, or if he does, in fact, fight in the PFL and make his PFL debut next. Now, going into Joshua versus Ngannou, I didn't think Ngannou would ever return to MMA, and I still am kind of skeptical whether he will. Like, is it worth it to get in the cage for a fraction of what you were making in these mega fights in Saudi Arabia against Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua? So we'll see what the Ngannou market looks like, whether they put him in there against Deontay Wilder or some other heavyweight. We'll see how that all unfolds. Or if Usyk beats Fury, maybe Ngannou versus Fury too. I don't know, I'm just speculating. But it's going to be interesting to see what Ngannou's next move is. But yeah, this night couldn't have gone any better for Anthony Joshua. I mean, not only is this like the most active stretch of his recent pro career, like you'd have to go back to at least 2016 to where he fought 3 times in 1 year. Well, he fought 3 times in 2023, and now we're only in the beginning of March, and he's already fought in 2024. So in 1 calendar year, basically from March to March, 2023 to 2024, he has fought 4 times. I like that a lot for AJ, and I mean, he's cooking right now. He looked great in that fight against Otto Wallin. And for those who are always like, oh, Anthony Joshua is scared to put his foot on the gas, doesn't really sell out on his punches, this and that. Like, you go from stopping Otto Wallin in 5 rounds to doing that to Francis Ngannou. Granted, it was his second professional fight, but hey, I didn't see too many people saying Anthony Joshua is just going to squash Ngannou in the early rounds. Look, I didn't see anybody coming up with that analysis. And if you did hear somebody say that, or if you do know somebody who said that, let me know who predicted that. You know what I mean? Because usually it was AJ is going to fight a very cautious fight. You know, if he could win this behind the jab and kind of keep things at distance and move around a lot, a little bit like he fought Andy Ruiz in that rematch and go to a decision win in that manner. You know, I saw a lot of that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Boy, was that vicious. I was just sitting there hoping Francis Ngannou was okay, because he was motionless for a pretty significant period of time. But he does appear to be okay. I hope he goes to the hospital. It bees like that in the heavyweight division sometimes. Like, you really can get just about any outcome. Like, the killer could become the killed just like that. The hunter could become the hunted. And the predator, in this case, became the prey. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Wood. Thanks for tuning in.